Welcome to the 60 Plus podcast.
I'm Janet.
And I'm Joe. How are you today, Janet?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And you? Didn't that sound very
It
formal?
did sound very formal. It
Sounded
kind
very
of threw me.
business-like.
It did. Why so formal?
I don't know. I just felt like saying it that way. I'm
Okay.
very impulsive sometimes, I think.
I think I knew that about you. Not. Oh, yeah, I knew
Even
that
though
about
I
you.
think a lot, I don't always think. So, how are you?
Uh, as you know, I had a little 60 plus,
spill.
little 60 plus thing going on this
I
week. Yeah,
know.
it's a pinched nerve in my back.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah,
I am so sorry about that.
thank
That
you.
stinks.
It does stink. It
It-
really stinks a lot.
And you're in pain. How are you sleeping?
I'm sleeping great,
Are
actually.
you?
Yeah. Surprisingly, I think it's tiring me out during the day.
Oh, right. Yeah. The
Uh,
strain of it all.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I get to bed, and it's just when I lay down, it's fine
Oh, that's good.
for the
That's
most
good.
part. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Good.
I
Okay.
didn't mean to
Well,
get into all my.
I'm glad to hear you're on the mend,
Yes,
and I hope that you'll have a full recovery soon.
that's what the orthopedic guy says I will have.
Good. Good. We like him.
We
Okay.
do so far,
Yeah.
so far. But you asked how I was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice segue, Janet,
It
because that's what we're going to
was.
be talking about
I
today.
know. Aren't I shifty?
You are. You don't always think, but when you do.
Watch out.
So we're going to be talking about sleep and
Mhm.
particularly how sleep is maybe a little more challenging for 60 plus
Yeah.
people.
Now you're throwing me off because usually you say, "What are we talking about, Janet?"
What are we talking about today,
And I
Janet?
didn't even get a chance to say, "What are we talking about, Joe?" And then you revealed what we were talking about.
Should
So
we start over?
I don't know. I don't know. I think we should just keep on going.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
What are we talking about today, Joe?
apparently my orthopedic issues.
Right. Well, let's move on from that because we
Okay.
are talking today about sleep. We actually came up in conversation in our last episode about how important sleep is and as part of self-care.
Mhm.
And we were talking about how many of our friends do have problems with sleep. And you know what? They're not alone. We come to find out 70 million Americans have sleep problems. Problem with sleep, insomnia.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. That's like 20% of the total population of America. And 35% of adults. So I guess it kind of gets worse as you get older. And in fact, they say for our age group, 60 plus, insomnia is a real problem.
So insomnia can be defined in a number of ways. It's not just the inability to sleep,
No, having a tough time getting to sleep.
waking up a
Right.
lot during the night,
Mm-hmm.
waking up early and not being able to get back to sleep.
The problem is that when this occurs night after night over the course of weeks, then it's something you might want to have checked out because there are some causes that we're not going to be able to solve for in today's podcast that might require some doctor determining whether you have something like, say, sleep apnea.
Right.
Right.
And sleep apnea is when your airways block off, and
Right.
loud snoring is a typical kind of symptom of it.
That could be a symptom of it, yes. So, yeah, you wake yourself up basically because you're disrupt your breathing. So that's not a good thing. We're not talking about those types of things today, right? We're talking about, the typical reasons why you might have sleep problems, the typical things that you can do to promote better sleep because it's so important. We know that the body repairs itself at night. It builds muscle. The brain repairs itself at night. And it's just your overall mood, right? I mean, if you're not getting sleep, it can kind of get irritable. You can get depressed. And what was interesting is you can have memory problems.
I don't think I've had that, but I don't.
But I don't remember.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I
No,
don't remember if I had that or not.
I'm very fortunate. I rarely have trouble sleeping. Very rarely.
Yeah, I've been pretty good myself these days, but there have been times, I will say, in my past where all of a sudden at 2:30 in the morning you wake up and you can't get back to sleep for hours, and that's horrible. So I have my own little remedies and things that I do to solve for that, but
You care to share?
well, I will at the appropriate time, maybe. So, moving along, what we want to talk about is some tools and tips of sleeping, getting a good night's sleep,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So, for those people who do have this issue at times, here are some thoughts. You want to go first or should I?
Follow a regular sleep schedule.
Yeah, follow a regular sleep schedule.
I expect if someone has trouble sleeping that they've heard a number of these things before.
Yes, I don't think any of these are big surprises,
No.
but you
But
never know.
going to bed and getting up at the same
At the
time,
same time.
roughly the same time each day.
Do you set an alarm clock?
I do.
Oh, I don't.
No,
No. Mm-mm.
I often will wake up before my alarm,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to sleep too late. And when I was younger, I used to sleep very late. Like, I
Oh
could,
my
s-
goodness.
I
Well,
could sleep 10, 11,
oh yeah. Well, and that's
easy.
the younger brain actually needs 12 hours of sleep,
Hmm.
right? They say that typically an adult needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and that doesn't change as you get older. We might,
That's kind of was a surprise to me.
yeah.
I thought that older people needed less sleep.
Huh.
Everything that we read prepping for today's show said, no,
Needs-
that's not true.
Yeah, you need the same amount.
So we're busting a little myth there, I think.
Yes, and we do tend to go to bed earlier and get up earlier. I know that's true of me.
There's a shift in your circadian rhythm
Yeah.
as you age.
Wow, using those big terms, Joe.
You know, it's funny because I wonder if that shift in circadian rhythm kind of lends itself to the stereotype that older people eat earlier, like eat their dinner earlier.
Right.
You know,
That's
like
because they have to go to bed early. Who's we? No, it's we,
I
not
didn't say
them.
we. I didn't say we.
We are the older people.
Yeah, yeah.
That's starting to sink in.
You know, so but being older is better than not being older.
No, we're all very proud of being the age we are,
We
you
are.
know?
So getting a regular sleep schedule is important. It seems to be the number one thing on every list that I saw.
Yeah. And with that, I thought this was kind of surprising and sort of disappointing too, was avoid napping in the late afternoon or evening. Like that's going to disrupt that sleep pattern,
That kind of makes sense, though.
I guess. There's nothing like a late afternoon. I'm a terrible napper, but boy, when it happens, it's like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, where am I? How long was I asleep? It's great.
I'll draw an analogy. Your mother would say, "Don't have that cookie; it will ruin your appetite for dinner."
Mm,
It's kind of like that. If you get a little bit of sleep,
mm,
it kind of takes away the tiredness you might feel when you go to bed.
maybe.
Develop a bedtime routine, and all these tips are coming from the National Institute of Aging, from the National Institutes of Health.
Mm-hmm.
Develop a bedtime routine.
Yep.
Time to relax before bedtime each night.
Right.
Read a book, listen to soothing music, or soak in a warm bath.
Right. Don't watch TV. Don't pick up your iPad or your phone or anything that has that blue light from those devices. That is going to mess up your sleep.
That's something I do.
A lot of people do.
I watch TV before I go to bed.
Well, some people have TVs in their bedroom, right? So
Me.
that allows for that. I've always had a rule to never have a TV in the bedroom.
It's a rule.
It's a rule. No TVs in the although I do have an iPad, so I don't know if that kind of counts. Not that I use it that much for watching TV.
Okay.
Sometimes I watch late night comedians or something like that. But I'll fall asleep on the couch with the TV on.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
then you got to get up and get yourself to bed and go through your little routine, which is what they're suggesting. Wash your face. Do you have a little routine before you go to bed?
Brush my teeth and wash my face.
Yeah, me too. You put lotions and potions on.
I'm not a big lotion guy.
You're not a lotion and potion
Not
person?
a lotion guy. Keep your bedroom at a comfortable temperature. This is something that around the change of the seasons that I struggle with because I have my summertime blankets and I have my wintertime blankets.
Right.
And when the season is changing, we live along the coast. It,
Yep.
it, it can get very cool at night and warm during the day. And
So they said like 65 degrees is the
that's about where my bedroom
optimal.
is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
about where my bedroom is.
I don't like it when it's too hot.
Too warm is not good.
No, I don't. And of course, too cold isn't either. But
You can always put another blanket on. You can pull the blanket up over your
snuggle
head.
in, hibernate.
hmm All right. Use low lighting in the evenings. So this is before you go to bed. Exercise at regular times during the day, but not within 3 hours of going to bed.
Right, because exercise is going to get all those endorphins going and all those
Get your
you know,
heart
things.
rate going, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's the exact opposite of what you want to have happen.
yeah. And I think along with that, fresh air too. Fresh air really can knock you out. Like take a walk at night, maybe. That's not hard exercise, but getting that fresh air can make you sleepy.
Avoid eating large meals close to bedtime. This one's kind of counterintuitive to me because if I have a big meal, then I feel sleepy.
Especially if it's turkey.
Turkey, the tryptophan. So this one's kind of counterintuitive for me.
Right.
I wouldn't have a large meal before bed for other reasons, but I would think that it would make you tired.
Well, your body's trying to process it though, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing with like having alcohol before you go right to sleep. Your body's going to try to process that sugar in your system.
Oh, is that what
Um,
does it?
mm-hmm.
Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
obviously, stay away from caffeine.
right. That's I don't drink caffeine after noon. I try not to
I was
because of that very reason.
last summer. I was experimenting with cold brew coffees.
Oh boy, that's got a lot of
I
caffeine in
had,
it.
had like a cold brew about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was 3 o'clock that morning, and I was just like, why can't I get to sleep? It's
I
just
know. Every time I push the envelope on that, like I go past my little rule on,
Mhm.
noon is the last cup of coffee. I always regret it because I'm like, why can't I sleep? And I'm like, oh yeah, I had coffee at 1:30. It doesn't have to be that even that far afternoon. And
mhm.
it's just because it takes a while for your body to process caffeine.
It does
Yeah, it's like up to 8 hours or something like that.
that long,
So,
really. Okay,
mm-hmm.
all right. So those are some of the tips from the National Institutes of Health.
Right,
None of those are a big surprise, except for the large meal thing for me.
right, right.
Uh, is it the appropriate time yet, Janet? You said you had your own little remedies.
Oh, well, so if I wake up and maybe I'll pick up my book or something and see if I can get myself back to sleep. And if that's not working, then I'll get up.
That's something a lot of the articles that I read said.
Yeah.
If you can't get to sleep 20 minutes, 30 minutes,
Yep.
get
30
up.
minutes is about what I give it.
Get up, do something else.
Yeah. So I get up and I make warm almond milk with honey and cinnamon. And when you warm up almond milk, it does the same thing as regular milk. So you get that tryptophan effect,
Okay. But you
right?
put
So
the
you
honey
could
in,
do.
so it's got the sugars.
Well,
And
yes, but
that's just for the
otherwise,
taste.
yeah. Otherwise, I don't think I could drink it because I get unsweetened almond milk.
Mhm.
But you could use regular milk too. It would have the same effect, but I just don't drink regular milk. So, for some reason, the warming of it releases those tryptophans, and like within a half an hour, I'm like conked out.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my little
I
trick.
wonder if it's the concoction or if it's just the act of getting up and doing something else and then getting back to bed.
Well, it could be a combination of all those things. And you know what? It doesn't really matter as long
It
as it
doesn't
works.
matter.
You got to find what works for you,
Mhm.
right? There's lots of other sort of holistic ideas for that people try that we've come across. And some of them, well, yoga, they say is a really good thing to do.
It's amazing to me how frequently the research we do for these podcast episodes come back to yoga.
I know.
Everything is yoga.
I know. It's like if we're not doing it, we're missing all these
Can't
benefits.
sleep, do some yoga. You got to take care of yourself, do some yoga.
It's good for blood pressure. It's
Mhm.
good for diabetes. It's good for all kinds of health issues that tend to come on later in life. And you don't have to go to a yoga studio. That's the beauty of this. There's so many great programs on YouTube. You can find one. A lot of times, if you're working, they're through your health insurance. They have programs for that. So free programs.
Oh, really?
Your senior center or whatever you want to call community center,
Hmm.
they have yoga programs that tend to be complimentary.
We've talked about senior centers in the past. People should be not wary of senior
No.
centers. When we were younger, the senior center was like a place you'd go and you'd see everybody in a wheelchair, like sitting watching The Price is Right during the middle of the day.
Come on
Yeah,
down.
but that's not what senior centers are now.
No,
No, they're
no.
hubs of activity.
Hubs of activity. And it's actually not called the senior center anymore. What's it called? Something Center for Adult
I don't know.
Fun. I know they have ping pong there. I'm checking that out.
I don't think it's called the Center for Adult Fun. I don't.
No? Well, it should be. Now, wouldn't that be a draw? I
It
mean,
sounds like a place of ill repute when you put it like that.
well, it would be a
The
draw.
Center for Adult Fun.
I'm just saying, I think they need to rebrand.
Flashing neon lights and women in thigh-high boots.
Triple X. Well, Joe, I think that's where your mind went. That's not where the rest of our minds went. No, it was a good branding idea.
Okay, well, whatever works.
The other thing that they said about these sort of more natural remedies, if you will, is hypnosis. There are actually, if you do have your iPad near your bed, there are YouTube videos that have sleep hypnosis videos that you can play, audio. Some of them are like affirmations and just things that you might want to listen to. You can listen to rain or ocean. So there's a lot of interesting things on YouTube for that kind of assistance in sleeping. They talk also about supplements. Yes, you can take medication, I suppose, for sleep, but you really want to try to avoid
That's
that.
fake sleep. It's not.
It doesn't give you that.
It doesn't
deep
give you
REM
get you into
sleep.
those stages of sleep you need to be in.
Right.
One thing I read in a couple of articles, and I found this surprising, is the best long-term solution for insomnia is cognitive behavioral
Behavioral
therapy,
Right.
which is a long process, and you have to do it with a professional.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really having difficulty with insomnia, that might be a way to go.
Right. And we actually talked about this as it related to last week.
Self-care and
Self-care,
self-love. Yes.
yeah. So cognitive behavior therapy is definitely something to look into. If this has become a problem, because they say like once you're worried about sleeping, then it sort of becomes a little bit of
It's
a
a self-fulfilling
behavior,
prophecy,
right?
yeah.
So trying to break that cycle would be really important. There's other things like chamomile, melatonin, things, valerian supplements that you might, want to consider, having chamomile tea. One that I didn't know was tart cherry juice.
I've read about this. I've actually passed it along to a friend who was having trouble with insomnia. Tart cherry juice. I think that would probably be better than some of the other supplements
Yeah.
because there's some dosage issues.
Right. Yeah. You've got to be
especially
careful, right?
with like melatonin.
Well, actually, what's interesting about the tart cherry juice is that it's naturally high in melatonin.
Oh, okay.
So maybe instead of taking a melatonin tablet,
Mm-hmm.
you drink the cherry juice instead. And again, that natural substance is processing in your body differently. They also mention acupuncture and massage, two of my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can actually go to an acupuncturist for sleep issues. And there are studies who have shown that that can be very helpful. And then massage as well. So,
Those are all good suggestions.
yeah.
And there's plenty of information that we're not able to get to today. I was searching on the AARP website, and they have an article, 7 Surprising Secrets to a Good Night's Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how worry can lead to insomnia
Right.
and what to do about that.
Yeah, like meditation and counting.
Actually, no, they suggest take 15 minutes during the day and worry about all the things that you would probably worry about.
At night, yeah.
Just
And remind yourself there's nothing I can do about it now.
do a worry
Or
download.
maybe write it down. If you keep on worrying, write it down and be like, okay, this is what I'll do tomorrow morning, to deal with it.
Talks about how good relationships help with sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And rise and shine. Refrain from hitting the snooze button. Increase your physical activity.
Yeah.
Splash your face with cold water and expose yourself to sunlight.
Right. Yeah. Like I've heard that when you first get up, that going outside, getting that sunlight is like one of the best, and the air too, breathing in the air, taking deep breaths, the fresh air. It's like one of the best things you can do for your body to wake up and start the day off right.
Getting some sunlight, natural light,
Mm-hmm.
helps with the circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Your circadian rhythm
Right.
is built around sunrise and sunset.
Right.
So that's all helpful.
Not to mention the vitamin D that you're getting.
Vitamin D is good.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate yourself. So this is kind of practicing gratitude that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Get out of bed. This is one of those articles that talks about getting out of bed and doing something different. And then finally, take baby steps. Don't expect it to be solved in 1 or 2 nights or even 1 or 2 weeks.
Right.
Just-
But if you are having a problem for over the long term, you do maybe want to get checked for sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea and those
or
kinds of things.
the other kinds of things that might be indicators of something else going on. Medications can sometimes lead
Mhm.
to that long-term problems.
So there's a lot of information out there on the interwebs about sleep, and it's important to get good sleep. So I'm sure we could talk about this for another 30
I
minutes.
know, but I'm getting sleepy.
So is there anything you want to mention before we wrap up, Janet?
Well, I just hope everybody gets a good night's sleep tonight. And if you think that some of these things might be good to try, check it out. Let us know how it goes.
And as usual, if you're liking what you hear on the 60 Plus podcast, share it with a friend. Tell them Joe and Janet are fun and informative and hopefully and entertaining, maybe.
Well, you don't have to tell them all that. Just tell them to listen.
Just tell them to listen, like,
And
share,
then they can make their
subscribe.
own decision.
And you can always reach us at 60pluspodcast@gmail.com. That's 60, and then the rest is spelled out, 60pluspodcast@gmail.com. And reach out to us. Tell us what you like. Give us an idea for a future
Yeah,
episode
please.
of
Yeah.
the 60 Plus
let us know
podcast.
what you want to hear about.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the 60 Plus podcast. Until next week, I'm Joe.
And I'm Janet. Bye.